Hi, it's me. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I spend a lot of time in my house, specifically this very room. Some would say I'm kind of like a pathetic cave-dwelling loser, but I prefer the term introverted innovator. The one thing that has been a huge part of my younger life has actually been sport. American footing ball, the baseballs, the basketball, swimming, track, cross country, and bowling. Yes, bowling is a sport. Have you guys ever seen a professional bowler in person? Well, I have, and it's peak male performance. It's intimidating, and it kind of smells like smoke.
Who do you think you are? I am!
But as I have grown older and, haven't been forced into doing sports, I kind of just stopped caring about sports. See, I actually started caring about something more important and worthwhile. Anime. Jesus Christ, I'm a loser. But I've liked anime since I was a young boy, and I've always had a particular preference. I never really like anime that's super over-sexualized. I don't really like anime with insane amounts of gore just for shock factor. But I love animes with unique animation styles and, above all, really good writing. Mob Psycho, Ranking of Kings, Vinland Saga, Fooly Cooly, stuff in that vein. But one thing I always tended to stay clear of had to be sports anime. Now, that could just be because I've lost interest in sports in general in my adult life. So obviously, I'm not going to be searching for any sports entertainment. But it's also the fact that the concept of anime, a medium of art that is known to be absolutely ridiculous, over-the-top type stuff, put into a sport just seemed kind of silly to me, And I have seen Megalobox, and I just want to mention that anime is absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend that you watch it. Thinking about the concept of hearing someone have an inner monologue about how they're going to pass to this said person and then shoot the hoop to this said person, do an alley-oop, and oh no, this guy, all that different nonsense. I kind of was like, cringe, am I right? Now, I'm no stranger to inner monologues, obviously, as someone who watches anime, but just monologuing in sport fashion didn't seem like it interested me. And boy, was I wrong. Blue Lock is not your average sports anime. From what I can gather from other sports anime and just kind of hearing other people talk about those animes, is it really has to do with the basic concept of teamwork, friendship, all that nonsense. Just don't get me wrong, that works, like we've all seen the Narutos, the other animes that friendship is where you get all your power. But Blue Lock takes that concept, covers it in shit and piss, and more importantly, the throbbing, rock hard, veiny egos of these boys. It's got a little hot thing about it. But before we move on, let's talk about what I am drinking here. I'm drinking a classic red blend branded Calypto, with hints of black cherry, raspberry, plum, baking spices. That's right. And I got this a delectable bottle of wine from the great people at Bright Cellars. And what's Bright Cellars, you ask? It's today's sponsor. Bright Cellars is a wine club that believes everyone should experience the joy of wine. Thank you, Shadow. All it takes is completing a 7-question quiz in order to figure out your palate and your preference. They will match you with different wines from around the world that fits your taste. You get the option of 12 different plans that chooses from 100 plus different varieties, from 80 plus different wine regions. And all of this is delivered right to your door. And each wine comes with these really cool wine education cards. Like, these things are awesome. Not only does it give you a brief description and all of the different flavor notes that you'll find in this, it gives you the serving temperature, where it came from. Also, something that I find really cool is you get pairings. They list at least 3 different pairings of food, snacks, whatever, that go great with a wine. Now, my personal favorite out of the ones they sent me was Cabin 5. It's a Montepulciano. I didn't even know that was a type of wine. Me personally, I've been drinking wine for quite a long time. You know, I like enjoying a glass here and there every once in a while. Maybe read a book, drink a glass of wine, maybe watch a show, drink a glass of wine. And this is also great for people who don't know anything about wine, or people who just want to explore wine and have no idea where to start. This is a great place to go. So if you guys would like to try Bright Cellars, make sure to go to the link in the description and you'll get $110 off your first subscription. Trust me, if you enjoy your wines, or again, maybe just want to explore and find something new, this is the place to start. So Blue Lock is an experiment that was created by this slanky looking creepo named Ego in order to find the world's best, or I should just say Japan's best striker, and put them in sort of a Naruto Chunin exam situation. And the winner of this Blue Lock ends up becoming the main striker for the Japanese football team. But the catch here is, if you join Blue Lock and you don't make it to be, you know, the #1 boy, then sorry, you're never gonna be able to play professionally ever. So the stakes are pretty high already. This show follows the main character, Azagi, who is a talented striker and has spent his entire football career with the whole mindset of teamwork makes the dream work. There's no I in team. But that whole mindset completely flipped on its head whenever a career deciding moment happened. He had an open shot at the goal of the game that was going to decide whether or not they go to nationals. And instead of taking that shot, his coach starts yelling, "Oh, that's not all for one, it's one for all." And he ends up passing it. His teammate, being an absolute loser, misses the shot, and then Izagi starts crying like a little bitch. I just want to mention, I know a lot of you are probably, oh, what, you lost your chance at nationals. Why are you crying like a little baby? And as someone who spent a lot of time in the sports realm, the emotions run pretty high when it comes to this stuff. When you are really invested in the sport, the emotions become quite insane. Hell, there was a moment when I was in 8th grade and I was seeded to win first place cross country at the state final. But unfortunately, it was a little bit of a muddy day. I ended up slipping and falling and I didn't get first place. I ended up getting, I think it was either 3rd or 4th or something like that. And then I ended up crying like a little bitch. But if you take that into a real context of, oh, your entire career is over, yeah, it could be a big deal. And I feel like that's what the show really leans on to really grasp the audience, is that emotion. Because when Izagi is invited to this Blue Lock and Ego tells them all of the rules of the situation, everyone here realizes that if they lose, like, that's it. All of their dreams crushed. Over. You'll never play professionally, get over it, bitch. Which to them is the equivalent of dying. But anyway, after Ego tells all these strikers about the rules and stuff, they're all like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. And then Izagi's like, bitch, I'm going in. And I just want to say the concept and the writing on this show is so goddamn cool and interesting. As someone who's only played football or American soccer like one time in his life, like, I have no clue of any soccer information whatsoever, but I was hooked. First off, they were put in a room and given arbitrary ranks based on Ego's biased decisions and are told to basically play tag in this small room. And whoever is it, when the timer is up, they get to go home. And it really starts off the show with the bang, showing the viewer how intense this show is about to get. This ain't your grandmama's sport anime. After one of them loses, Ego explains that this room was actually set up at the perfect dimensions of like the goal area of where all of the final moments of the game happen, and that's why this was such an important thing, and that's why that person got sent home and all that different nonsense. Everything that Ego does in this entire anime makes sense when he explains. They all have like an underlying training method, and it's so smart. And after that phase, they get put in the next phase, which they are separated into teams. And this is where the show gets really interesting. They hold a tournament and the top 2 teams will advance, but the person on the losing teams with the most points ends up advancing anyway. So just think about this. A team of all strikers who are all fighting to get the most goals, but at the same time have to play as a team, leads to some of the most intense, interesting games of football I have ever seen. Because they're throwing the rule book completely out, starting from zero, and just learning a new game of football as they go. They end up using each other's ego to their advantage. They end up devouring teammates, stealing the ball from teammates, end up double-crossing teammates, and even helps other teams at certain points. There are so many unique ideas that just grip you into this story because you never know what's going on. You never know who to trust. Is he going to be friendly today and a bad guy tomorrow, or a bad guy today and a friendly tomorrow? You have no idea. Is this team going to work together or just screw each other over? You never know. This character refuses to work as a team, so how the hell are they going to pull this together? This character seems impossibly better than all of these guys. How are they going to pull together to win this thing? You are just constantly hooked and just wondering what's going to happen next. It's just written so well. It's just an every man for himself situation, however you have to play together. Also, the characters. I don't think there's a character in this anime that I dislike. Maybe Reo. Reo's kind of a bitch. But you end up rooting for literally everyone, and it's such a hard thing to see someone go. Witnessing each of their character developments and the way that they gradually get better and better after each game, learning new skills, hearing the driving force behind why they want to be the best. You really start growing connected to all of these characters, and even connected to relationships of characters when they're friends, and then all of a sudden now they're enemies. It really just kind of whiplashes you back and forth. But now that I talked a lot about the characters and the story, let's just talk about the animation as a whole. I won't really say this is the best animation I've ever seen because there are a lot of moments of CGI usage, but it's not really anything that takes you out of the moment. A lot of the moments where action could be placed in isn't really there, and you kind of get slideshows in moments here and there. I really hope season 2 gets a little bit of a buff with their animation budget because it definitely deserves it. But regardless of that, the action still goes balls deep. The animation still within that is fire. The auras of each character and how each color that comes off of their eyes or their aura kind of represents a different skill that they learn. Each character has a sort of monster within them, which you could kind of compare to what people would know as a flow state. It's kind of that state of being where you kind of just ignore everything in the world and hyper focus on the thing at hand, and you end up breaking past what you thought you were capable of and become pretty much sort of a monster. I love how they animated these flow states because every time you see someone's eyes go black and hazy, oh boy, you know some shit's about to go down. And this is kind of a counter to a lot of what I've been talking about, but ironically, this has a good message behind it. The idea that you can only be the best if you truly believe that you are the best and you push yourself to an extent that is almost ridiculous. I mean, yeah, sure, the show does take it a bit further beyond, but being the best, you truly do need to embody your ego. You need to convince yourself that you truly are the best. Now, sure, there's a fine line between being conceited and being confident, and obviously there's such a thing as overconfidence, but that is a message that they're trying to portray. And also, I know this show really shits on the idea of teamwork, but it actually promotes that in a different kind of way. Throughout the entire first season, there was never a time where they're not on a team. Every time they're trying to make it to the next stage, they are doing teamwork. There is a lot of teamwork in this show. It's just not reliant on the idea of being friendly with each other. It's reliant on the idea that they're all trying to be better than the next person, and that's what pushes them even further. And I feel like that really shows that no matter how far you try to make it on your own, you're always going to need the help of someone to do it, because you really can't do everything yourself. There's actually a character in this anime that truly proves that point, which is Baru. He is the sole embodiment of I'm better than you, bitch. Get over it, fuck off. And he's probably the most difficult to work with and interesting character in this anime. He kind of shows the pitfalls of overconfidence and how it can really hurt you. And seeing Baru's character development throughout, he's definitely one of the top characters in this show for sure. But season 1 of this anime just finished recently, and it really left off with a bang. It introduced a buttload of new characters at the end of the episode, you know, showing like, yo, like there's gonna be some shit going down next season. I don't really want to spoil too much of the next phases and the other stuff that Ego does with them. I highly recommend that you guys go watch it because I feel like I'm just going to be ruining it if I explain everything, because that's literally the hype behind the show, is who wins, who loses, who picks who, Who devours who's better than who, how the hell is this person gonna beat this person? So if you are someone who's never watched a sports anime and kind of like tickled the idea, this is the one to start with. Hell, if you've never watched an anime in your life, this is a great one to start with. You know, none of the really cringe cliche shit about anime, you know, the over-sexualization, the insane amounts of gore, or just, you know, anime things. You know what I'm talking about. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is the first anime I've ever reviewed. If you guys want me to talk about any other anime, I would love to. So I'll leave in the comments below of any anime you'd like me to talk about, or if you want me to do more in the future, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.